Okay, so I don't know if you guys saw this week, Paul George, of all people, got suspended for 25 games for the use of improper medication. That's what they're calling it.
Paul George just got slapped with a 25-game suspension and nearly $12 million evaporated overnight. The NBA says he violated the anti-drug policy. George claims it was medication for mental health. Then old footage resurfaced. The internet went ballistic, and the story got uglier. Prescription P, the suspension that shook the league to its core. On January 31st, 2026, the NBA dropped a bombshell that exploded across social media in seconds. The Philadelphia 76ers announced that Paul George would be suspended 25 games without pay for violating the league's anti-drug policy. The financial hit was brutal, roughly $11.9 million wiped from his bank account. George said the issue came from improper medication while seeking help for a personal mental health problem. The 9-time All-Star, a guy who built a 15-year career on elite two-way play, clutch performances, and relentless defense, suddenly faced a suspension that would wipe out most of the 2025-26 season. For the Sixers, who invested $220 million in him just 18 months earlier, this was a disaster. The announcement hit like a wrecking ball. ESPN's Shams Charania reported George's claim the violation came from medication prescribed by a personal doctor, not the team's medical staff. George released a statement accepting responsibility, apologizing, and saying he'd used the suspension to get his health in order. The NBA didn't reveal the substance, but league sources confirmed it wasn't a performance enhancer. Yet the internet didn't care. Facts don't matter when the outrage machine is in full throttle. Within hours, Prescription P was trending. Drug P and P George flooded X and TikTok. The memes were relentless, the jokes were brutal, and the public was already forming a verdict before the story was even finished. The question everyone demanded was, what did he take? The NBA's banned list is massive. It includes benzodiazepines like Xanax and Klonopin, stimulants like Adderall without a TU, and hard drugs like cocaine and LSD. It's a net that catches both recreational users and legitimate medical patients. The bigger issue, how he got it and why he didn't go through the league's system.
It says Paul George's 25-game suspension highlighted that taking medication for a mental health issue that is not approved or is misused, even if prescribed by a personal doctor rather than a team doctor, can lead to significant penalties. So I'm wondering if maybe it was something that he didn't want the team to find out about. And if in fact it is mental health related, I mean, I don't know if that's everyone's business. I mean, maybe it is, I guess, because you're part of the team. They invest a lot of money in you. Maybe it's in their best interest to know.
This is where the real problem lies: the clash between professional sports, personal privacy, and mental health stigma. And the NBA has only recently started pretending to care. Reports confirm the suspension came from medication prescribed by a personal physician, not a team-approved doctor, a critical violation under the league's rules. Whether George hit it because of stigma or simply didn't understand the process, the result was the same: 25 games, nearly $12 million lost, and his personal life exposed in the harshest spotlight imaginable. The timing was suspicious too. Fans immediately speculated George triggered a random drug test after his sudden 32-point explosion against the Milwaukee Bucks on January 27, 2026, just 4 days before the suspension. But the real moment that set everything off was already sitting on the internet, waiting to be weaponized.
When I first saw this story break, a couple days before, I had reposted this video. Paul George was in a layup line doing 360 dunks with ease. Now listen, at his age, with the amount of injuries he's had, seeing that, I knew he was going to get tested. I said it as soon as I saw the fucking video. He should never have done that shit in the layup line. Go watch this video.
The clip that resurfaced showed a 35-year-old Paul George, a player who has survived catastrophic injuries, including a gruesome compound leg fracture in 2014, dunking in warm-ups like he's 25. It was insane. For a guy with multiple surgeries and chronic issues, it was the kind of athleticism that screams, something's up. Then the old locker room clip hit. George jokes with Joel Embiid about injury pain and says, "Drugs help me." It was a harmless joke, a veteran joking about the reality of painkillers, injections, and recovery meds. But the internet turned it into a scandal. Within 48 hours, the clip was everywhere. Meme accounts, reaction videos, and hot takes turned it into proof. The narrative became Paul George is openly admitting he's on drugs. But here's the truth: he wasn't confessing to illicit drug use. He wasn't revealing a secret stash. He was joking about the brutal reality of playing at the highest level at age 35. The drugs he referenced were likely legal, team-approved treatments, the same stuff most veteran NBA players rely on. But context doesn't get clicks, nuance doesn't trend. And that brings us to the headline that started this whole mess: new footage of Paul George taking drugs with other NBA players. That footage does not exist. No credible source has ever produced a video or photo showing George using drugs with teammates. Not ESPN, not AP, not The Athletic, not TikTok, nothing. All that exists is the "drugs help me" clip, ripped out of context and turned into propaganda by an algorithm designed to reward outrage. The suspension gave the story credibility. The clip gave it visuals. The memes gave it branding. And the lack of details gave the internet permission to fabricate the rest. Then Charles Barkley poured gasoline on the fire on Inside the NBA, calling George's explanation fishy. Barkley's skepticism carried weight, and that gave millions permission to doubt the story too. Other personalities piled on. The conversation stopped being about facts and became entertainment.
Now, I also saw in a lot of the comments, people were saying, oh, it's probably just weed. Weed isn't banned anymore in the NBA. So it's not that. But after seeing him do all them dunks and shit in the layup line, I was thinking maybe him and LeBron got the same doctor. I'm kidding. Kind of. Kidding.
The LeBron comparison, thrown out as a joke, but loaded with suspicion, touched on a long-standing rumor. How do elite athletes stay dominant at 35+ without cheating? People have been whispering about LeBron James, Tom Brady, Cristiano Ronaldo, and others for years. The problem is the rumor can never be proven or disproven, which makes it dangerous and persistent. George's suspension became a data point for those rumors. Even though it wasn't PED-related, the public saw a veteran suddenly playing like a younger version of himself and assumed the worst. Then came the money angle, the part the internet can't ignore. George signed a 4-year, $220 million deal with the Sixers in July 2024. Now, he's forfeiting nearly $12 million for medication he claims was for mental health.
Yeah, I mean, it does suck because 25 games, I read that he's like essentially giving up $11 million. Like, just think about that. You took some medication for, I guess, your mood, right? Just to feel better, I imagine. And it cost you $11 million.
That loss is brutal. It's the kind of money most people will never see in a lifetime. It also exposes the NBA's strict anti-drug policy. The league operates under strict liability. Intent doesn't matter. If a banned substance shows up without a TU, you're punished. George isn't the first player to learn this the hard way. The pattern is clear. 25-game suspensions happen for reasons ranging from intentional cheating to accidental medical mistakes. Examples: Bobby Portis, Feb 2025, suspended 25 games for tramadol, claiming he took the wrong medication. Tristan Thompson, Jan 2024 game, suspended 25 games for SARMs and growth hormone secretagogues. John Collins, Nov 2019 dialect, suspended 25 games for a growth hormone releasing peptide. DeAndre Aidens, Oct 2019, suspended 25 games for a diuretic. The NBA doesn't care about intent. The rule is simple: the substance is in your body, you pay the price. Repeat offenders face harsher punishment, and the most severe cases can end careers. The modern NBA is more rehabilitative than the old days, but the first offense penalties are still devastating. Voice 6th ever George's suspension has a clear timeline and a harsh reality. It started on January 31, 2026, and he can return on March 25, 2026 when the Sixers host the Bulls. That leaves just 10 games for him to get back into shape, rebuild chemistry, and help push Philadelphia into the playoffs. No appeals have been reported, and George is expected to serve the full suspension. The Sixers have publicly supported him. GM Daryl Morey said George is part of the core alongside Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. Coach Nick Nurse said George can stay in the facility and practice, indicating the team still views him as a key piece. Philadelphia went 3-1 in the first 4 games without him, leaning on Kelly Oubre Jr. and Maxey. Financially, the suspension created a weird advantage. George's lost salary generated roughly $5.8 million in luxury tax savings, helping the team manage payroll. But the real damage is on the court. George averaged 16.0 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 3.7 assists, and was considered the team's best perimeter defender. Analysts still give the Sixers 73-74% playoff odds, but the margin for error is razor thin. Voice the story is bigger than basketball. It reignites the debate about mental health treatment and strict drug policies that punish athletes seeking help. The NBA's policy protects competitive integrity, but it also traps players in a system that doesn't account for real human struggles. George's admission about mental health was a rare moment of vulnerability. The response: mockery, memes, and ridicule. And the new footage of George using drugs with teammates. It was never real. It was a myth created by a real suspension, a decontextualized clip, and a social media ecosystem built on outrage. The real story is far more human. A veteran sought help, failed to follow protocol, and paid a devastating price. Paul George returns on March 25, 2026 with only 10 games to prove he's still worth the $12 million contract. And the internet will have already moved on to the next scandal, the next misleading clip, the next outrage that feels good in the moment. That's the cycle. Paul George Prescription P is just the latest athlete trapped in it. Thanks for watching. Check out the other videos on the screen.